Finally, it's here, fellas.
It's finally
Open
here.
weekend.
Welcome into XFL Chalk Talk, the show where we go beyond the box score. My name's Riley Bradshaw alongside Kenny Keller, Brandon Glessner. We are live from Walter's Sports Bar in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
And fellas, I can't even contain myself. I'm so hyped right now. Like the atmosphere around here, we're seeing red shirts, red jerseys,
Lots
red
of Defenders
sweatshirts.
fans.
A lot of Defenders fans
Yep.
are out and about. They're expecting a sellout today at Audi Field. Guys, this has been 2 years in the making, and honestly, it's like hard for me to even comprehend that it's here, that we're finally here, game number one.
Well, what's wild about it is we drove in at 8 o'clock, or about 7:30 this morning, got in. People were already tailgating.
Yes.
Had bonfires out. We're talking people playing cornhole, sitting there drinking their beers, having fun, because everybody's fired up about this league. We get here, this bar opened at 10 o'clock. Droves of Defenders fans came in just to sit here, have a couple drinks, relax, because they're excited to watch football in February. Like, think about that. It's kind of crazy.
It felt like the day was never going to come, and then the last 2 weeks it's gone by like that. So I'm super excited. I'm happy the inaugural game is here in DC, and I'm happy we get to partake in it.
Yeah, I'm running on pure adrenaline right now. I was up till like 3:30 in the morning just getting stuff ready for the show. It takes a lot to put on a live production. And Walter Sports Bar has been amazing. Being a host. They've been super chill. We're on all of the monitors around here. We're giving away free tickets at the end of the show to our participants here that came to join us for our pregame show. We have a lot to get to today, guys. We don't have any time to waste, so we're going to get right into it.
Let's get to it.
We're going to interview Connor Fulk coming up from XFL News Hub. We're going to talk to him about today's games. Later, we're going to bring in Mike Mitchell from XFL News Hub and XFL Board. We're going to talk to him about tomorrow's games. We're going to talk fantasy. Who knows, we might even bring a fan on or two. We'll see how it goes. But there's a lot to break down. Let's go ahead and get started with the headlines going into week number one with this week's opening drive. Let's hit it, baby! Oh! So depth charts came out.
Lots of surprises.
Kind of some surprises, guys. And you know what? Before we even get into it, like I want your guys' opinion. Like, how much do you take into account these depth charts? Because if you look, like right now we're in DC, so let's just start with DC. All offseason we've been talking about the wide receiver tandem of Rashad Ross and Eli Rogers. And they're listed as the second, and Eli Rogers is third string on the depth chart. I don't know how much stock I take into that. Like, are you telling me Eli Rogers isn't going to see the field today? I highly doubt it.
Yeah, no, I don't put a lot of stock in this at all. One thing I would keep in mind, you get a lot of this in the NFL too, where they have to release depth charts, right? They legally have to. Like, that's a part of their contract with the NFL.
It's like a formality.
I think it's a formality, to be honest with you. I think you're going to see a lot of guys in and out. Whether they start or not, the Defenders' wide receiving core is stacked all the way to the fourth string.
It's deep.
So it's super deep. It's the deepest in the league. So I think you're going to see everybody get playing time today because, guys, it's the first game. They've really only had 2 preseason games. They've had 3 weeks of training camp. They only had a week and a half of mini camp. These coaches are still trying to figure out who are the best guys on the field. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into the depth charts so far. It'll be interesting as they release it and as we see this week 1, week 2, week 3. That's when we'll really start to see, hey, who are the number 1 and 2 receivers on the team that they're going to march out there.
And not only that, I think the depth chart, we look at it from an NFL perspective and kind of what we know from traditional football, but we got to remember, this is a new league. It's faster pace. How's the conditioning with some of these guys? I mean, second string guys might be playing over 50% of the game,
That's a great point.
So I don't put a whole lot of stock into where they're seated because they're probably going to see a lot of playing time regardless of where they're at on the depth chart.
Yeah, if you look around the league, it's not just the Defenders. Like Tony Ely in Houston, he's listed as
he's second stringer.
And we think he's going to be one of the best defensive linemen in the entire league. I mean, if you look all over at teams' depth charts, there's kind of surprises everywhere.
It is. One of the big ones is in Seattle, with Gardner starting and Farrow. Kenneth Farrow and Trey Williams are the second and third string. But, guys, we've talked about this on the show before. I'd be stunned if you didn't see those 2 guys get a lot of playing time today. Right? Because they're all 3 different style of backs. So I think it's a case of Seattle had to list one guy, right? And that was the guy that they listed. And who knows? Second series, third series, all that, I think you're going to see a different running back in there.
For me, the biggest head scratcher was Lance Dunbar not even being listed.
That is
not
weird.
even listed.
That's weird because he's not even on the depth chart, and I don't understand what's going on there because Bob Stoops has been talking about him over the last couple of months, saying he's in line for a great season, and he's not even appearing on the depth chart right now.
I think what it tells you guys is the talent that they've been able to get into the league has been a lot better than they probably anticipated. So they're running these guys in there that maybe from smaller colleges or they had options on practice squads, and just because you take the 53 best guys, there's going to be talent that falls through the cracks. I think the coaches may have been shocked at how good the talent was that they had, which is why you're seeing the Lance Dunbars, the Terrence Williams. Those guys aren't on the depth chart anymore, and they're not even on the roster.
It's wild. It's wild to see.
Yeah. So I think our overall message from XFL Chalk Talk to you, the fans, is don't take too much stock into the depth charts.
Not at all.
But I think that point you made, Penny, was fantastic. And it's something I didn't really think about. I mean, we have a 25-second play clock. It's going to be so many rotations going in and out. So even if you're a third string guy, I could see you getting some playing time.
Oh, yeah,
and then, like you said, Gless, teams are going to be feeling it out over the next few weeks. I mean, odds are we're going to see some sloppy football this weekend. I mean, we just are. Teams haven't had a lot of time during the offseason to really get their footing under them, like develop that chemistry that, NFL teams take years to really, pull together. And they're trying to do it in, 2 months?
It's tough.
2-week mini camp and a 3-week training camp. So it's a tall task. And I think just like the AAF was, it was sloppy the first few weeks, but the product got better. And I think we're going to see something similar here with the XFL. So hopefully we're in line for some exciting games. But what's not really exciting is the news that's coming about our quarterbacks.
No, not at all.
Particularly two of them that are probably the most prolific in terms of notoriety.
Two most experienced too.
So we're looking at Landry Jones and Josh Johnson potentially being out for this game.
The two most notable ones, like you said, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely a blow just for the XFL in general. But let's focus on what that means for the teams.
Sure.
So let's start with Josh Johnson today. You're looking at going to Knopf, who just joined the team, 3 weeks ago?
And he just joined the league a month ago.
And he's probably in line to get the start from what we're hearing out of LA if Josh Johnson doesn't go. I know if you watched our power rankings video at XFL Chalk Talk on YouTube, you probably saw that we had LA number 1. And the caveat to that, and I think we mentioned it a couple of times in the video, was if Josh Johnson isn't playing, they move down significantly, in our opinion, because they traded away Luis Perez, who is now with the New York Guardians. So that's really a decision that seems like it could be coming back to bite them in the butt. And the thing is, at least out of us, I don't really know what the injury is to Josh Johnson. They've been very secretive about it.
It's a thigh.
We just know that it's a thigh, and he's been sidelined. We don't know the severity of it. Like with Landry Jones, there was a timetable given. With Josh Johnson, it's a mystery. Like, we don't know if he's going to be ready to go today or if he's going to be out for 3 weeks. We have no idea. But all I do know is if he's not in, it's a huge blow to LA's chances today.
Absolutely. And they're playing. They couldn't come against a worse opponent because they're playing Houston, who is, by all intents and purposes, going to have the best offense in the league. So points are already at a premium. You already have to score tit for tat with Houston, and now being down a quarterback and having an unproven, brand new quarterback in is just, I think it's too much of an uphill battle for them to climb, because I don't think they can match Houston's offense with that.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it limits what LA can do on offense. We're talking about a quarterback who joined the team, what did we say, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, no mini camp, half of training camp. A team that with Josh Johnson behind it is one of the better offenses. Without that, playbook shrinks down significantly, and they're really going to rely on an Elijah Hood in order to kind of carry that offense today, because I just don't know what they're going to be able to do on the offensive side of the ball to keep up with Houston.
That's a good point.
I mean, you got to score points. You got to score points to keep up, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that today. So
and from a fantasy perspective, I'm thinking of Elijah Hood. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because if you're Houston, you're going to be pinning your ears back and getting after, probably bringing guys into the
box.
Trying
to make Knopf beat you.
Right? Got to make Knopf beat you. So he's in line for a heavy workload, but at the same time, Houston knows he's in line for a heavy workload, and they're going to adjust accordingly. So
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what happens when you lose your starting quarterback. And let's go ahead and move on to Dallas with Landry Jones. This one we've known about for a while. The timetable was 4 to 6 weeks. If he actually plays tomorrow, that's the early side of that timeline.
That's fast.
He was interviewed a week or two, about a week ago, from the Dallas media, and he said that he's hoping to be ready to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
If not, he's certain he'll be ready for week 2. Guys, I'm starting to get the sense that Dallas is going to play it safe and keep him out. As unfortunate as it is, they're going to keep him out for this first week when they open up at Globe Life Park.
Yeah, I think so, and it's probably the smart play. I mean, if you're rushing him back week 1 and he ends up re-injuring his knee, knees are fickle. Like it's like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with knees.
Yeah.
No.
So if he ends up hurting it more and he's out for the year, then that's a huge blow to Dallas. Because to be honest, quite frank, I'm not a huge Philip Nelson fan, and I don't think he's even close to capable of carrying that team. Like, I have huge concerns that they can even pull the game off against the Battlehawks today with him starting.
Yeah,
I think, we talked about this in our power rankings from top to bottom. I think Dallas is one of those balanced rosters from 1 to 52 in the league. So if it's a week or two to hold them out, I think that's fine. The biggest loser today is going to be the XFL because Landry Jones is one of the most notable players, if not the most notable player that the XFL is pushing and being able to mark the league. He was the first guy to come in and sign with the league, gave a lot of notoriety. He had meaningful NFL snaps. So really it's just kind of the XFL loses with him not in the lineup. And honestly, we lose as fans today because I wanted to see what he had, right? And what was going to happen inside the Bob Stoop and the Hal Mummy offense. So I want him to get well. I want him to play a lot this year. So if that that means he sits out a game or two, then it is what it is, man. It's a 10-game season, and the goal is to win the championship at the end of the year. And if you're not healthy now to do that, then there's no way you can do it.
It just sucks because there's a lot of buzz around the opening of Globe Life Park for their home game. Kind of like a new stadium in a sense. They renovated it for football purposes. So, you want to see Landry Jones out there quarterbacking. No offense to Philip Nelson, but it's just not the same.
It is not.
And I think if Philip Nelson's playing, totally changes the line. What is the line, Kenny? It's like 9.5.
Well, the line's 9 now, and that's so. I mean, I'm guessing that's assuming Landry's playing. It's got to take into account because I got to imagine if they announce that Nelson is the starter, that line's going to drop. It has to.
Yeah. I don't know, but if Nelson is in, it's definitely not going to be a 9-point
No way.
game.
No way.
It's going to be much closer.
If it is, bet
so.
St. Louis big.
So those are 2 injuries to really keep an eye on. We hope that they're both going to play, but I think we're a little more on the pessimistic side for both of them. I mean, you don't want, like you said, Kenny, and I think it's a good point. I remember back a few years ago when Ryan Tannehill tweaked his knee, and they rushed him back. They said, you don't need surgery. He tried to come back and, boom, blew his ACL out.
Well, and not only that, a local example, Robert Griffin, RG3.
Yeah.
Rushed him back, and he blew his knee out a couple games later in the playoffs. So
Dungey's healthy for today, right? I think Dungey's healthy.
He wasn't on the injury.
I don't know how much of a factor.
Sorry, for tomorrow. Well, maybe or maybe not.
He's barely practiced, Bless. He's been hurt since he got there.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: if Jones isn't active, and you can't roll in with just Nelson, can you? I mean, you got to have somebody healthy who can take snaps.
Dungey's the backup for sure.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He's ready to go.
Yes, I think he'll be dressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, we both like Dungey.
Yeah. So we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Connor Fulk from XFL News Hub. We're going to break down today's games. We're going to focus on the DC-Seattle matchup, and then, like we've just talked about, that big LA-Houston matchup. I think it's going to be one of the better matchups for the weekend. So we'll be right back in about a couple of minutes, and we're going to talk to Connor from XFL News Hub. So stay with us. we're back here at XFL Chalk Talk's live pregame show from Walter's Sports Bar in Washington, D.C. We are joined now by Connor Fulk, XFL News Hub writer, XFL extraordinaire. Connor, are you as hyped as we are, man? Like, we are so freaking amped right now. 2 years in the making, and we're finally here, man. So what are your feelings going into week 1 today?
Yeah, I feel like we're a part of history right here.
Yeah, right?
I mean, the atmosphere in Walters right now is off the charts.
It's crazy.
Bar's completely full. Absolutely no seats available. Tailgating parking lots opened up, packed. I think people are really excited to just have something new, you know? And I think a lot of people, this is the week where they will decide, is this product viable? Is this something I'm going to casually watch? Am I going to keep watching it? So, you know, it's really up to the XFL to prove itself today.
Yeah, so we're going to break down today's games, but I think we were just talking in the last segment about the depth charts. I know you were tweeting a lot about it because there were quite a few surprises. But us personally, we don't take a lot of stock into it. And I'm just curious what your perspective is on all these depth charts. I mean, for DC, for example, that they have Rashad Ross as the second string and Eli Rogers as third string. So, you know, situations like that, are you really looking that much into it? Or do you think it's just kind of coaches don't want to play their hand too much, things like that?
Yeah, so I'd like to say take it with a grain of salt across the board. Here's the biggest factor with the depth charts. The XFL game is going to be fast. It's going to be a fast, exhaustive game compared to the NFL, honestly. These games are supposed to be over in a perfect world within 2 hours and 45 minutes. Less stall, more ball. And I think because of that, you're going to have a lot more rotational players than maybe you see in the NFL. So maybe the starters, it's a more of a blurred line within the XFL. You know, some guys will be gassed. They'll be going to the sidelines. You'll be pulling them in. Even though Rashad Ross is listed where he's at, I'm fully confident he's going to be a significant contributor,
the offense,
you know, today and heading forward. But yeah, I think it's just a means of, you know, making sure these guys aren't gassed, but also I think they created their depth charts really aimed for week 1. You know, Dallas is a good example. Jazz Ferguson is not listed as a starter. I have a feeling that that's because of his long-term hand injury that he dealt with, even though he's probable today.
Why does that matter, Connor? He can catch it with one hand all the time.
Oh, yeah,
They post it on Twitter all the time. Why does that matter?
Exactly.
He doesn't need to.
Yeah.
I have like a secret love affair with Jazz Ferguson. I don't know if you've seen in our videos, but I'm
about 3-4 segments. That's all he's talked about is one-handed grabs. So.
Well, I mean, he absolutely dominated in camp. He was constantly on all of their social
even
media
Seahawks camp, when he was with the Seahawks, he led the team in receiving yards coming out of the preseason. So he's one of those guys, and not a lot of people know his name, but I hope he's on the field so he can showcase the talent. But that also is a good one because I was a little surprised when I saw him as second string. So I don't know if, Connor, if you caught our power rankings video that we put out yesterday, but as a show, we have Seattle Dragons 8, and me personally, I have the DC Defenders 1. So what's your take on today's game? Because I obviously think it's going to be a
big delta.
All right, so the DC Defenders are the clear favorites in my mind. So if you saw, I released some picks yesterday, kind of choosing who I thought would win the matchups of this weekend. I think DC Defenders have to be the clear favorites, and a big reason for that is I think the home field advantage this weekend for all teams that are playing at home is going to play a significant factor in these games. These teams have never played a real life game together, and I think playing in an atmosphere that hypothetically, hopefully, will be against them is going to play a significant factor. It's going to really shake them up. I think the home team having the fans behind them, maybe it'll help them towards getting some better cohesiveness on the field.
I like that.
Connor, let's talk about the DC Defenders on offense versus the Seattle defense. One of the concerns that I have personally is the Seattle defense. Not a lot of big names out there, and the strength of the Defenders, I think, lies in the skill position players that they have. Talk a little bit about that matchup, what we're going to see today, who has the edge, and what are some breakout players you see on the Defenders on offense you think are going to show up today?
Yeah, absolutely. I am concerned about the Seattle Dragons defensive line. So in conversations that I've had with Pep Hamilton, Pep really highlighted that they're going to be run first, open up 1v1 matchups for their passing game. Defenders have the strongest backfield in the league, in my opinion. Jarrell Presley led the AAF in rushing. as well as NCAA all-time leading rusher Donnell Pumphrey out of the backfield as well. So I'm worried for the Seattle Dragons defensive line. I mean, you may have your first 100-yard rusher in XFL history today, guys. And that's going to really mess up the defensive backs because they're going to have one-on-one matchups with NFL veteran Eli Rogers, NFL veteran Rashad Ross. Also, the defenders have some great height as well. I mean, Jalen Rao is 6'4". Simi Cobbs is a safe 6'3". You know,
Kari Lee's pretty big.
I mean, we've got some big guys out there, and height matchup, speed matchup. It's going to be. I think it may be a little rough. However, for our purposes, I think hopefully it's a fairly competitive, close-ish game. Well, I don't think we want the first game to be a blowout.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there anything Seattle can do to kind of keep it close or pull an upset?
Yeah, well, you know, as far as the defense goes, even though they don't necessarily have recognizable names, you know, there could be some guys that show up in the AAF. There were guys that certainly didn't have recognizable names. Maybe even Carter Schultz, for example, is a good example that just really lit it up on paper that entire season. So maybe we have something like that. Who knows? Maybe we have a very effective pass rush today by the Seattle Dragons that gets to Cardale Jones. You know, in training camp, the DC defenders were not perfect. So, you know, hey, anything could happen.
Yeah, one thing, Connor, that I'm looking at with this game before we get your pick and we move on to this afternoon's game, losing their defensive coordinator, the DC defenders, losing their defensive coordinator less than a week ago. Yes. I'm interested to see how that takes shape. While Seattle's offense may not be like the most potent offense in the league, I don't care how talented you are on defense. Losing the head of your defense a week before the season, it's a blow no matter who it is.
Yeah, I will say on the bright side, they were able to get some very solid continuity by promoting Louis Siafi to the defensive coordinator slot. He does have defensive coordinator experience in Division I football, and he has spent, you know, several decades as a defensive backs coach in the NFL. So I do have confidence in Coach Siafi. So hopefully that helps out. But you're right, that's a big loss.
All right, so let's go ahead, Connor. Are you willing to give your pick on this show, or are you saving it for later?
I'm giving the pick.
I think we already kind of know where you're going.
I think so.
Yeah, so we have the defenders today. I think they win by a pretty safe lead, you know, a couple touchdowns.
Okay, so they cover.
I would say the line's 9, right? You say they cover?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they certainly cover. I feel good about the team. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to this afternoon's game, which is a very intriguing matchup in my eyes, especially if Josh Johnson doesn't go. I don't know if you've heard if it confirmed or not, but us as a show, we don't know at this point if he's playing or not. We heard it's a game time decision. If he doesn't play, how much does that balance shift? Because we had our overall composite ranking, we had LA as the #1 overall team. But obviously if Josh Johnson doesn't play, they go down significantly in the rankings.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my picks yesterday, I shared 2 things. Go with the home team, except in the case of the Renegades, and go for the teams that are less injured. That's a big factor. I mean, I think Josh Johnson, with the NFL experience he brings, his loss is a big deal. Now, I'll be honest, I think him going into this game as questionable, maybe a strategic move by the league. Because here's the thing, the league wants you to tune in, and I don't know if they want to be honest that one of their most high-profile players aren't playing. So think about that. I mean, remember, he hasn't practiced all the way since training camp. I was hearing through my sources in training camp that he was not practicing like that final week. So he's been out for weeks, all right? Not practicing at all. So I think there's a real good chance that you see Chad Knopf or Jalen McClendon. I lean towards Chad Knopf because of the depth chart, but for whatever reason, the league is saying Jalen McClendon is the starter. So we'll see. I don't know.
Connor, one of the biggest things that I love about this league is the diversity of offenses, and we've covered it at length on this show. The team that really sticks out when it comes to such a unique offense is Houston, right? I think they're going to have the most dynamic offense. They're going to be the hardest one to game plan against, and they've got talent everywhere on the offensive side of the ball. what can LA do, and does LA have the talent on defense to certainly keep the game manageable and not let the game get away in order to keep it easy for the LA offense so they don't feel rushed in the second and third quarter, and they're not playing outside of the offense.
Yeah, for the Wildcats, biggest factor is, do they have linebackers that can cover wide receivers?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Roughnecks with the run and shoot offense are going to have wide receivers spread across that entire field. So the athleticism of the linebackers and the safeties to cover these speedy wide receivers is going to be a big factor for the Wildcats. If I can note, as far as fantasy football goes, I know that like my big following boost here is the fantasy the fantasy
Hey, we're
crowd.
covering that later.
So if I can just throw out a quick note here, love Sammy Coates. I love any.
Me as well.
Love any Roughnecks wide receiver, honestly. And for running back, I actually really like D'Angelo Henderson because Andre Williams in his career has never been proven to be a pass-catching back.
Yeah.
I think the running
it's
backs...
It's a strange fit, isn't it?
Yeah, the running backs in the Roughnecks offense, they got to catch the ball. So I think Henderson may end up getting more
Connor,
play.
What's interesting to me is even if Josh Johnson was playing this game, and, like I just said, we had them as the number 1 team in our Week 1 power ranking. I still think I would pick Houston in this game because as much as I like LA, the matchup is a nightmare for them. For those reasons you mentioned. I love their defense. They take on that Winston Moss mentality, like tough, the Wildcat way, in your face, power. But versus a team like Houston where they're just wide receivers all over the place, I'm not seeing their defense being able to keep up, especially like you said, at the linebacker position. So that's a great point that you bring up.
For Houston now, I know their starting quarterback competition went down to the wire between Phillip Walker and Connor Cook. Walker ended up winning it. Is he going to be on a short leash today, or do you think he gets the whole game to kind of prove himself?
So I think he gets the full game to prove himself. I think he was the right pick for what they're trying to do. If you followed me for a while, I've been guessing Phillip Walker as the starter from the get-go, and my reasoning for that is I just think mobility for the quarterback position in this league is so critical. So I really trust that he was the right pick. It may be a mistake to go to another quarterback the first game in your existence. You have to let this play out. I think the AAF made a major mistake across the board with how much they were constantly changing quarterbacks. You were never able to have a cohesive star quarterback except for Garrett Gilbert in that entire league. So I'm really hoping these XFL coaches have some patience the first couple weeks. They got to get these guys some time to establish themselves.
All right, Connor, so let's get the pick. Who do you think between LA? Does it matter to you if Josh Johnson is playing or not, or are you going to go one way or the other no matter what?
It certainly matters to me, but I really like the Roughnecks either way. One reason for that is they have had such good ticket sales that they have opened up 5 different sections on the second deck. Okay?
Wow.
And their lower deck that they originally were only going to sell has 17,000 seats. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that we're going to be approaching up to 20,000 attendance. For a established NFL market, I think maybe we can thank, the Texans' Bill O'Brien obsession for a part of this. I honestly think that some angry Texans fans will be going to the game today. That's for sure.
It's going to be an exciting brand of football. Houston's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Not sure if it's going to equate into wins, but it's going to be fun to watch. So fans are going to love it. I know Kenny is really high on Houston. Especially Henderson.
And so you confirmed my hunch when a couple weeks ago we came out with the Players to Watch video, and my guy was D'Angelo Henderson. I love the tape on that guy. He's absolutely a wrecking ball with the football.
I'm a huge Sammy Coates guy. I think he's going to be one of, if not the most dominant player in the league when it comes to just plays over 15, 20 yards. Just great combination of size and speed, athleticism. He can pretty much do it all when it comes to receivers in this league. So I'm excited for him. I agree with you.
Definitely.
All right, so 30 seconds, Connor. Let's just get your picks real quick for tomorrow.
Yeah, so picks, going to have the Guardians against the Vipers.
Okay.
Really like the home teams, as you can tell. Going along with that theme, I'm a lot less high on the Tampa Bay Vipers compared to Las Vegas. Las Vegas loves the Vipers.
So do I, Connor. So,
I'm
well,
not on
watch
the
it,
same
buddy.
page.
Watch it, buddy.
Unfortunately. And then I am picking the Battlehawks. They are the 108 team that I
Upset
think
special.
Upset City.
I think injuries just play a big part
Is that
with
because
that
you don't
Dallas
think
offense.
Landry's going to be in, and you're not high on Philip Nelson or Eric Dungy, whoever's playing?
Yeah. I mean, Philip Nelson, I have trust in him. Like, I don't think he's going to be terrible by any means, but I like that Battlehawks run game. I do.
Nice.
Now I know where Kenny gets all of his opinions on. He just reads your tweets all day.
The secret's out.
All right, Connor, what's your Twitter handle so people know?
Yeah, so you can follow me at XFL Connor. Blowing up right now, guys. It's a little crazy.
It's been
By
fun
the way,
to watch.
Connor with a K.
Yes,
Make sure
Connor
everybody
with a
knows
K.
that.
That's Konnor, spelled oddly.
Best guy at breaking news if you need XFL news
Yeah,
right here.
for sure.
Well, keep up the good
Thanks.
work, man. We really appreciate you coming on. I know we have a busy day. We're going to see you over at Audi Field later.
Yep.
We appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us here at XFL Chalk Talk.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to try to get Mike Mitchell from XFL Board and XFL News Hub on the phone to talk about tomorrow's games. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Here at Walter's Sports Bar for the XFL Chalk Talk pregame show. We were just joined by Connor Fulk from XFL News Hub, some great insight. We're going to be joined momentarily by Mike Mitchell from XFL Board and XFL News Hub. He's going to cover tomorrow's games for us, so hopefully we'll get him on the phone here in a little bit. But before we bring him on, let's talk some fantasy, guys. Yes. We have a DraftKings League. Kenny, you set it up. Tell people how they can get involved in it.
Yeah, so if you guys want to be a part of our DraftKings League, go ahead and leave your DraftKings username in the comments section, and I can just I'll manually invite you guys into the league. This week it's a $3 league, top 3 payout, and we'll kind of adjust that as the league goes on. But for the first week, we want to do $3, top 3 payout.
All right, so we're going to give our optimal lineups for DraftKings today. Lesnar was screwing me, man. I have graphics for this, and he had Josh Johnson, and then he changed it because he's scared he's not going to play.
I had to, man. I can't sit there and start somebody who's questionable.
As if I don't have enough going on, bless.
By the way, before we start, here's one thing. Walter Sports Bar. This is an incredible atmosphere right now, guys.
Yes.
I'm having a hard time even hearing you.
It's getting wild, man. I'm getting so hyped right now for the game.
If you're a DC native, you've got to come here before a game.
That's right.
It's a great atmosphere. It's right across from Nats Park, and it's only a few blocks from Audi Field, so the location couldn't be better. All right, Kenny, so why don't you go ahead and start. I'm going to bring up your lineup here, and you can tell us about it.
Yeah, so obviously there's a salary cap you have to follow in DraftKings, $50,000. So within that ceiling, this is what I chose. So my quarterback, Philip Walker. I felt like that was a no-brainer. He's got to be the biggest value pick in the draft. He's only $7,800. He's actually less than what Connor Cook would have cost if he would have gotten the starting job. He's in the most high-octane offense in the league. I think it's a no-brainer. Ultimate value pick at quarterback to take Philip Walker. I really think Tim Cook is going to get a lot of carries today. I think they're going to ground and pound in New York. Tomorrow. Ground and pound in New York, and I like the value at $6,100. Sammy Coates, kind of same thing as Philip Walker. High-octane offense, #1 receiver, NFL experience. Seems to have good rapport with Philip Walker. I think it's a no-brainer. Mikhail McKay. It's been well documented that New York has had a tremendous amount of injuries at wide receiver. D'Angelo Yancey is out. Tanner Gentry is out. He's on IR. So he's the de facto #1. Yeah, Austin Duke is going to see some time, and I like Austin Duke. But Mikhail McKay, bona fide #1 receiver, going to see a lot of targets. Jeff Badgett, again, I'm not really sold on Philip Nelson, but I do think that he's going to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to end up throwing the ball a lot in Dallas, and I think he's by far the #1 choice in that offense. I love #1, and he is the starting punt returner for Dallas, and we know with special teams, the new rules, it's going to be a factor. You get touchdowns, you get 6 points for a touchdown in special teams. So it's another way he can contribute for you.
That's a great point.
Now here's my ultimate value play, Reese Horn. He's listed as the #2 receiver for the Tampa Bay Vipers, but the #1 receiver is going to have Jamar Summers draped all over him. And so who's Aaron Murray going to go to? Reese Horn. He's going to get a ton of targets because I truly think Jalen Tolliver is going to get locked down by Jamar Summers. So they're going to have to feed the ball to Reese Horn. And he's only $3,400. Great value play. My defense and special teams, $4,700. The Dallas Renegades. I'm not sold on St. Louis's offense at all. I think Dallas is going to tee off on them. And to be honest, that rounded out $50,000. That's $0 left over. It was a perfect lineup.
All right, so if you were mad at the long commercial break we just had, it's because I was making a new graphic for Glessner's team. So let's go ahead and bring it up. Gless, you want to talk about your optimal lineup for today in DraftKings?
Yeah, so I'll first go ahead and start with saying what I really like about this league, right, and the salary caps that they put on it, it created a ton of flexibility for me from the offensive perspective, right? I felt like I was able to get really good players at a very kind of reasonable price. So let's go ahead and start off the quarterback position. I really like Matt McGloin this week. I think if there is a weakness on Tampa, I'm not sure about their defense yet. I'm not completely sold on it. I like the experience factor. I like the Mikhail McKay factor. I like that the receivers performed extremely well in camp, even though their second and third receivers are not playing today. So I really like this matchup. So I like Matt McGloin as a quarterback. Dred Presley, he's going to be the workhorse today. There's no doubt about it. DC wants to ground and pound. They want to run the ball. Pep's going to want to sit there, 2 tight ends, sit there, run the ball in the red zone. I especially see a lot of red zone carries for Dred Presley. I love that play. Sammy Coates, I can't talk about him enough. At $9,300, one of the most expensive receivers out there, but I think he's going to live up to that expense for you. So I highly recommend picking up Sammy Coates. Run and shoot offense. Ball's going to be all over the field. I like that pick.
I think we all have Sammy Coates.
I think we do. I don't understand why you wouldn't have him in your lineup, right? Yeah. Nick Truesdale, interesting dynamic here. Extreme hybrid player. Mark Trestman's going to look to get matchups all over the field. The Guardian secondary is their strength, though I think what Mark Trestman can do as far as lining matchups, getting him on linebackers through formations. I really like that matchup there, Aaron Murray to Truesdale, so I see a lot of catches there. Yep. Cameron Artis-Payne, I think it speaks for itself. He's really going to be the bell cow there in that running in that running back room, especially with Landry Jones out. I think that's a great flex pick for this week. Yeah. I would highly recommend you get Cameron Artis-Payne. Cam Phillips. Hey, man, you can't go wrong with Houston Roughnecks receivers.
You got 2 of them in there.
I got 2 of them in there. I'm very bullish on them this week. And then the DC defenders, mainly because I don't think Seattle's offense is going to do much today. So I took the best available defense. I ended up with, I think, $100 left. But this was my most optimal lineup.
Nice. Seattle fans are not liking this pregame show.
They're turning it off.
We apologize, Seattle. We don't hate you. Trust us.
For the record, I slight towards Seattle teams as far as my fandom. So, secretly kind of like to see them do well. So that's just my objective opinion.
I really like your lineup, Gus. The only thing that I would probably have changed, you see the price tag next to Phillip Walker, and then you go to the price tag from McGloin. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. I would have gone with Phillip Walker.
Yeah. He's the ultimate value play at quarterback.
Yeah, especially since you went so heavy with Houston. It seems like you're very bullish on Houston today.
Yeah. But remember, I like LA's team in general. I like what they have on defense.
I think Seattle fans are walking in, and I hope they don't break out behind us.
They heard Gless. They heard Gless talk about Seattle.
Get him out of here.
But yeah, maybe. I don't think you can go wrong with Phillip Walker. Other than if you want to take the chances, his first start, run and shoot offense. If you're afraid that it may not go as well, then you may want to go with Matt McGloin, a veteran option.
Safe pick.
I think Matt McGloin's a safe pick.
Playing it safe today.
Playing it safe today. Well, hold on, time out. I have 2 Houston receivers, so.
Okay, let's go on to my lineup. So let's start out with quarterback. I think you all know how we feel about Seattle today in this matchup. I'm going to go with Cardell Jones. I know he's pricey.
Kenny's boy.
I know he's pricey, but I think he's about to light it up today. Yep. I know that they're losing Tompkins to injury, but Rashad Ross, I feel like he's going to have a big touchdown today. Eli Rogers is going to be heavily involved. I just see a big day for Cardell Jones. We talked about it earlier. Cameron Artis-Payne is a great value pick. I think especially if Philip Nelson's playing, they're really going to push the ground game to try to balance that attack out. I think he's in line for at least 1 touchdown. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Sammy Coates because we all have him there, so you know about Sammy Coates. I think it's interesting, Gless, that you went with Truesdale too, and I know, Kenny, you went with Reese Horn, and overall I really like Reese Horn this year in fantasy, but I'm not so much for this matchup because we know how strong the secondary is for the Guardians. But I'm not sold on the middle of the field, the linebacking core, and I don't think any of them are going to be able to keep up with Nick Truesdale.
No,
I think he's going to gash them over the middle all day. I am a little concerned about Aaron Murray going up there with that secondary, so I think he's going to kind of think of Truesdale as his security blanket, or if you will, over the middle. So I love Truesdale today. And then my flex players, I have Jarrell Presley. Gless talked about him. He's going to be the bell cow today. I think he's going to get a lot of time, and I think he's one of the most talented receivers in the league. He was the leading rusher in the AAF, so I don't think you can go wrong there. I had to fit my guy Quentin Flowers in, and this is purely, I have no idea how they're going to use him.
Ultimate gadget player.
Yeah, ultimate gadget player. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him at wide receiver, running back, and quarterback today. I really wouldn't. So we'll see how they utilize him. I have no idea how they're going to do that. But I'm in love with Quentin Flowers, and I hope that Tampa Bay really makes an effort to get him the ball. Oh my gosh!
No!
Look at this. All right.
Riley, you may have to cut to this.
Hold on.
Look what we got.
People are handing out
swag.
Enemy territory.
Dragon Nation, baby.
Nice.
Enemy territory.
I love it. Way to represent.
I think we know where the boos were coming from now.
That's right.
Was that who they were booing when you walked in?
Yeah.
Hold on, watch out. Here, show the camera your jacket. Turn around and show the camera your jacket right there.
Turn around and show the camera. Look at these things. These are homemade dragons.
Go down a little bit. There you go.
There you go. Look at that, Dragon Nation representing in D.C.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Glad that you came out to support the Dragons.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. That's awesome.
And then for my defense, I went with the Renegades.
Yeah.
I just think they're a very strong defense, probably a top 3 in the league. I think DC is right up there too, but like I mentioned earlier, I'm concerned that they're...
Did the matchup sway you as well? Not sold on the Battlehawks?
Yeah, it's just that I know we love Te'amu, we love his upside.
There's too many question marks.
But there's just too many question marks going on there right now. They lost Beecham, their offensive coordinator. Chuck Long comes in with a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment at Globe Life Park. I don't know. I want no part of that.
Yeah.
If I'm a Seattle or St. Louis fan. So that's our fantasy lineup. We got to take a quick break because Mike Mitchell is on the line. He's waiting to join us. So we're going to be right back with Mike Mitchell to preview tomorrow's games, get his picks for the weekend. Stay with us. This is XFL Chalk Talk. I hope you can still hear us because it's
a
loud.
dull roar. It's crazy.
The atmosphere is lit right now, and I freaking love it, man. So stay with us. We're at our pregame show, Walter Sports Bar, XFL Chalk Talk. We'll be right back.
Check.
We're back. We're back here at Walter Sports Bar in Washington, D.C. for the pregame show leading up to 2 o'clock kickoff between the D.C. Defenders and the Seattle Dragons.
Almost there.
We're going to give this a shot. We have Mike Mitchell on the line from XFL Board and XFL News Hub. Mike, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. It's super loud.
Nice.
All right, Mike, so you're going to have to talk really loud, okay?
Because it's a dull roar here.
You're going to have to talk really loud, my man. All right, Mike, so let's talk about tomorrow's games. The first matchup, I think, is going to be the closest matchup of the year. So can you kind of just talk about what you're expecting from Tampa Bay and New York?
Well, I think it's pretty much a toss-up, the game between the Vikings and the Guardians. With a slight edge to Tampa, both evenly matched. We're going to try to pound the football. It's gonna be difficult in the sense that Guardians are out. Wide receiver targets for them and I think it's going to be a very close game. If I flip a coin on that one, if I had to which I'll do here, I'll take the Vikings to win in a lower scoring game than you would expect, 19-17.
Mike, what do you make of the New York Guardians secondary? Kenny is very high on resources, but I'm a little concerned about their secondary, but I do think that
but they can't hear you.
Yeah, they can't hear Mike. All right, Mike, I'm sorry. We were trying to bring you in. We can hear you faintly, but it's not coming in very clear. People on YouTube are saying that they can't hear you. So we may have to try this after the weekend and bring you back in. So sorry that we couldn't get you on. It's just so loud in here. I mean, there's not an empty seat in the house here at Walter's Sports Bar. So we're gonna have to let you go. But we'll catch up a time to talk with you after the weekend, and we will go over the games from this weekend. So thanks, Mike, for trying to join us. We appreciate it. All right. Yikes.
Yeah. It is so loud.
Yeah, they said they couldn't hear you. Yeah.
It is so unbelievably loud.
Sorry about that.
But it's awesome. This is one of the best environments I've ever been in.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yeah, I could hear Mike a little bit there, but I couldn't really make out what he was saying.
It's all good.
It's just way too loud, and his phone wasn't loud enough. So we're going to try to get Mike Mitchell on at some other time. But guys, when we look at the Tampa Bay versus New York matchup, I think this is going to be the closest game of the year.
I think so too.
Not of the year, of the week. I don't know about you guys. I just think the matchup. I mentioned this in our power rankings that I'm so hot and cold on both of these teams.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I was very high on the Guardians, and now I've kind of converted to the Tampa Bay side, and I'm very high on what they're doing. I think it's a fantastic matchup, particularly like I tried to ask Mike, the offense, particularly the passing game of the Vipers versus the secondary of the New York Guardians, which is probably one of the better ones in the league.
Well, yeah, and I think your hunch is right, Riley, because Vegas has the game as the tightest point spread out of all 4 games this weekend. It's 3.5, and and Tampa's favored by 3.5 on the road, which is interesting. Usually the home team gets 3 points. They're getting 3.5 as the visiting team. But still, nonetheless, it is the tightest game according to Vegas. And I do think that both teams are just really evenly matched. They kind of run similar styles of offense. None of them, they're not going to be wide open. They're not going to be throwing the ball all around the field. It's going to be a multiple type of offense. So I think that both teams match up, their strengths and weaknesses match up really well with each other.
Yeah, that's what to your guys' point, that's why I think it's one of the 2 best games this weekend, right? I think the LA-Houston one's going to be a really good one as well. But, to your point, this is strength-on-strength football, right? And I think the difference in this game is going to be kind of twofold. One, it's going to be the quarterback play. And I don't think that's going to shock anyone. It's Aaron Murray versus Matt McGloin. You're going to get a guy who has significant NFL experience, even though he hasn't played in a little bit. And then you've got Aaron Murray, who we all know is extremely successful at Georgia. And then I think it's also the coaching matchup. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what Mark Trestman does to negate that strong New York secondary in order to create mismatch. And we've also talked about on the show, one of the things we really like about Tampa is the amount of gadget and hybrid players that's going to be able to create constant mismatches for Aaron Murray to go ahead and exploit. So those are the 2 big... Say what? Quentin Flowers, right?
Riley's boy.
And if there's a guy that knows how to do it, it's Mark Trestman, right? So that's why I think it is the most interesting matchup. And just to see the constant back and forth throughout the game, the different personnel package he throws in, I think it's going to be very fun from a schematic standpoint to watch the entire game all the way through. So that's why I think it's going to be great.
Well, and remember, Mark Trestman is the inventor of positionless football. Like, he's a very big proponent of putting guys where they fit. It doesn't matter their height, speed, weight, whatever. He doesn't care. He puts guys where they're going to match up the best on the field, and it doesn't matter what their traditional position might be.
That's why he took a tight end #1 overall in the XFL draft, and we were all like,
Truesdale's a freak.
He's a monster.
I mean, he's a physical freak.
Yeah. So you have a matchup nightmare like him. I mean, no one else in the league has a tight end like Truesdale. So you scoop him up. Everybody knows my love for Quentin Flowers. You got to get him the ball. And then they have a really strong running game in terms of a power running game. You have Davion Smith, who was with the Orlando Apollos last year. He was like their goal line back, along with Dearness Johnson. And then you also have Jacquez Patrick.
Jaquan Gardner starting too.
What's that, Jaquan Gardner?
Jaquan Gardner starting for
Seattle?
Seattle.
Wrong team.
Yeah, maybe you should go sit a couple plays out. Jacquez Patrick for Florida State was a standout there. So it's going to be a power running attack to combine with the gadget type of plays and see if they can get guys like Quentin Flowers in space.
It'll be fun to watch. It's going to be very interesting to see. Like I said, we've talked a lot about Tampa kind of being outside the box and the contrarian team in this league. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that takes shape week 1.
Hey, one other thing to keep in mind, guys, is that with Quentin Flowers, he may be the first type of guy that we see this weekend to try to utilize that double pass.
Yep.
Just keep an eye
I
on
wouldn't doubt it. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if he is in at running back, if he's in a receiver, and he's in a quarterback, all in one game. I would not be surprised.
Not at all.
If we see that. Let's go to the offensive side for New York. They're much more of a balanced attack. Are you guys concerned, though, that they're missing 2 of their top 3 receivers?
I don't seem to be that worried because of how well that Teo Redding played in camp, right? And I think Mikhail McKay is going to be a bear to deal with. I think he's a matchup nightmare. So that's 1. 2, I think Matt McGloin is the big X factor here for New York, and that I think he's good enough to exploit any missing receivers out there. I think he's that good, right? And I think he has the potential to really overcome that deficit. But the biggest thing is how well the New York Guardians receivers played. The biggest question mark that I have about the Guardians is their offensive line, right? I think what's the number that they're missing? 6? They've lost 6 linemen from what they've drafted.
Yeah, for multiple reasons. But yeah, since the draft, they've lost 6 offensive linemen. Some of them were cut. They just aren't, the Quanjo brothers, who I know everybody was talking about, they both were drafted by the Guardians and they both were waived by the team.
Quanjo brother, yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, anytime you lose that amount of linemen, much less on an established roster, but a roster that's been pieced together for a new football league, that's a really bad recipe for disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how it plays out. I do think that the Guardians have a deep wide receiver core. I think they're going to rely heavily on Tim Cook. But yeah, the offensive line is key because you may, Gless, not be as high on them, but I really like the makeup of the Vipers' defensive line. I think it's perfect. They are not as big as some other teams, but they are athletic.
Yeah.
And if you have a slower offensive line, which I think the Guardians might have, then you're going to be seeing Matt McGloin, who's not the most mobile of guys, under duress all day from the likes of Nikita Whitlock, Ricky Walker, Josh Banks. Those guys are faster, quicker, athletic type of defensive linemen.
Well, I was going to say, Riley, you kind of stole my thunder. They do have 2 Wake Forest defensive linemen.
Oh, here we go.
Let's go.
Homer's still coming out.
But look, Nikita Whitlock is probably the fastest and strongest defensive lineman in the league. Granted, he's undersized, but the guy put up 43 and a half bench reps at 225 pounds in his pro day coming out of college. Like, he's a freaking muscle. That's what he is.
Well,
I think he's going to be in the backfield all day.
Well, I tell you, if you're going to be smaller and you're going to be quicker, you better be pretty strong, right? And you better be quick to the gap, and you better beat the offensive lineman to the gap. Because if you're going to get in a matchup where you're going toe to toe with the guy right at the line of scrimmage, you're going to lose that every time. Doesn't matter how quick you are. Right. So you better get there. So to your point, Riley, they may be smaller and faster, which I would also anticipate that means they're going to bring pressure, right? They're going to bring a ton of pressure. Yeah. So you may see a lot of man coverage from Tampa. Let's see if Matt McGloin can exploit that.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the second game, wrapping up the weekend. It's a game we've talked about extensively from the Dallas side, but I want to start with the St. Louis side. And we talked a little bit about Jordan Teama, but I want to start there. I think a lot of people forget that this kid is a rookie. I mean, and he doesn't have a lot of reps. He only played at Ole Miss as the starter for about a year and a half. This show, we love his upside, but I am a little bit concerned about him going into such a hostile environment. Week 1, Globe Life Park opening up. So I think that it could be disaster for the Battlehawks offense if Teamu can't get his feet under him quickly.
Yeah, and Connor talked about it earlier in the interview. He said that when in doubt, go with the home team. He thinks the home team is. And what worries me is you have a rookie quarterback in Jordan Teamu going into playing with new rules, a new system, without an OC, or sorry, with a new offensive coordinator who we've already heard multiple times that there has been, a difference in philosophy between Meacham, who left, and Chuck Long, who's there now. Yeah. So that just, to me, that just doesn't bode well for St. Louis. I just don't like that. I don't like that combination. I don't like having a rookie quarterback not only having to make his first start on the road, but then add in all the other factors that come with playing in a new league with new rules and a new offensive coordinator. Yeah. I don't like it.
It's certainly something to keep in mind and look at. I'm not a big home away for a new league, right? In the NFL, I could see maybe college certainly, but let's see what the fans are like at these games, right? And if it's truly going to be a quote-unquote home field advantage, I'm not quite sure that's going to be so big here in week 1. I do buy that, hey, with new quarterback, new system, tight ends, kind of a so-so receiving core, I can see where they'll be concerned. But you know what I really do love? I love their running back core that they have there. I love Christine Michael. I love Matt Jones. Yep. I think they are going to allow the St. Louis offense to kind of be steady Eddie down the field, ease Te'amu into it, and really allow Te'amu to use his legs. Right? I think that's
the
going
key,
to be the big equalizer.
That's the key, man. You just hit it on the head.
He's
got
to be able to use his legs.
Yep. He's going to be able to escape pressure, but I think you need a lot of quarterback design runs, a lot of RPOs to help take that pressure off. So you have to bring some more people into the box, and you can't just drop everyone back into coverage. So that's going to be key. So let's go ahead and move to the Dallas side of the football. I know that we've talked a little bit about Phil Nelson. If he's starting, obviously that's a big blow for the Renegades. But I do think that, as you've mentioned before, Glutch, they have one of the most balanced attacks in the league. So I think even if Phil Nelson is starting, he's a serviceable backup. And the running backs that they have there, which is weird. I don't know if Lance Dunbar is going to be playing or not. But
right. What do you want on the depth chart?
But you can definitely expect a heavy dose of Cameron Artis-Payne.
I think so as well. And he was one of the guys that we've been talking about for 3-4 months now, or since he was drafted. First team All SEC running back at Auburn. Bigger guy, but he has deceptively fast speed, which is why I really like what I see out of him. Again, Dallas, from top to bottom, in my opinion, is one of the most balanced rosters that we have. And if Landry Jones is playing today, I'd be like, wow, I really like Dallas to cover, and the line is -9 for Dallas.
But
it'll be interesting. What I really like about Dallas, they've got a couple pass rushers, Hololi Kakaha. I think that could make, and that is a homer pick.
Who's the homer now?
Yeah, that's right. That is a homer pick. University of Washington. Hold on, time out. He was a unanimous All-American pass rusher at the University of Washington. So, all right. I like that matchup, and I think that he could make St. Louis's life a little bit difficult. And there's not a lot of really great pass rushers in the league, but he has the ability to be one of them. So that's another matchup to look at.
Deron Smith could cause nightmares as well.
Yeah, he might be the best safety in the league. He tore up the AAF. He's got unbelievable ball skills. He's a field general in the defensive backfield. So I'm really excited to see him play, and he could really cause Jordan Te'amu fits.
Yeah, he's a ball hawk.
Yeah.
He causes turnovers. He makes plays. And when you have a rookie quarterback that's being thrown into his first game, I do think it's a good sign if you're a St. Louis fan that Te'amu was able to win that job, because it shows that he's able to handle the next level in terms of professional football coming from college. But it's still his first game. He's still a rookie, and it's still a team that offensively has been in a little bit of turmoil, trying to get their feet under them after losing their offensive coordinator. So I think St. Louis, as the year goes on, you'll see some improvement. But for week 1, Dallas at home, I think the Renegades are in good shape. Whether Nelson is starting,
it's a very favorable matchup.
Don't reveal your pick too early,
Not yet.
Yeah, I may have given it away there. But let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll come back and we'll give all of our picks. It's getting crazy here at Walter's Sports Bar. I can't even hear myself think, guys.
I can barely hear each other.
I can barely hear Riley. I'm trying my best.
Guys, the excitement right now for the XFL is through the roof. On TVs back here, you have XFL Chalk Talk on the screen, and then 2, you have XFL from ESPN.
People are bringing in their own stuff.
You're seeing it everywhere.
It's crazy.
It's so exciting.
It is.
If you're not going to the game, make sure you're talking on the Discord. We're going to be on Discord throughout the game, chatting what you're seeing on TV, how they're covering the betting lines, camera angles, innovations that they're doing, all of that type of stuff. So check us out on our Discord app. We'll put we'll during the break we can copy the link and put it in the description.
For sure.
So they can get involved and live chat with us during the game between the Defenders and the Seattle Dragons. So let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll give our picks. We'll wrap it up so we can go and get to Audi Field, because things are getting wild, guys.
That's right.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back after this. right, we're back here at Walter Sports Bar in Washington, D.C., getting ready to kick off the first XFL game of 2020, guys. The atmosphere here is incredible. We got to get to Audi Field soon for the start of the game, but before we go, we want to give our picks. Thank you again to Mike Mitchell for trying to join us.
Yeah, thanks,
it's just
Mike.
crazy here. We couldn't hear him, but barely, so I'm
I
sure
have to
people
watch
on YouTube
Riley's
too.
mouth.
Yeah,
That's why I'm looking
yeah,
over.
I can
someone's
barely
reading
even hear you
lips.
right
Reading
now.
lips.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our picks. Let's bring up the board so we see the matchups. And we're going to go ahead and start with the later game today. We're going to save the DC-Seattle game for last.
Yep.
So we have LA at Houston. We've talked extensively about the Josh Johnson situation. Guys, Les, why don't you talk about what you're seeing from this game, maybe the betting line, and then give your pick.
For sure, yeah. So the line right now is Roughnecks -6.5. And then the over-under, we got 51.5. And you're going to see that 50, 51, 52 for all 4 games. But I'll give that. But I think the Roughnecks 6.5, I think, is interesting today. Kind of a juicy line there, depending on how you see the LA quarterback position working out. But I think that's really the story of the game today, guys, is does LA have enough to keep up with Houston on the offensive side of the ball, right? Is the secondary enough, and do they have enough skill players? Do they have enough playmakers in order to really keep up with Houston? Because I think Houston is going to score a ton of points. I'm not sure what to expect from the LA offense. For that reason, I'm going with Houston to win the game today.
Les, I agree. I just don't think LA has the horses. I don't think they have the horsepower to keep up on offense. I like the Roughnecks to win, not only flat out, I like the Roughnecks to cover as well.
Wow.
And I took the over personally, over 51.5.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement here. I'm going to go with the Roughnecks as well. I mentioned earlier, I think even if Josh Johnson was playing, this is just one of those nightmare matchups for LA.
Yep.
I think they're in line for a successful season, but matching up with a team like Houston that's going to spread you out with 4 or 5 wide receivers, with that defense that is probably one of the strengths of their team, but their weakness is their speed.
Yep.
Their linebackers are very stout. They have a strong, big. Their defensive line is massive. Kenny, that one defensive lineman you were talking about in our last
350.
He's 350 for crying out loud. You have Sean Oakman. So yeah, they have some defensive linemen that can get after the quarterback.
They can.
But when you're spreading them out, I can see them being susceptible. So I'm going to go with Houston as well. Let's move on. We're going to go to Tampa versus New York. Les, what are you seeing from that matchup, and who are you taking?
Yeah, for right now, we got the line is -3.5 for Tampa. Over/under is 52.5. I here would take the over. I'm a big over guy in this game. I think there's going to be a good amount of points. But at the end of the day, I think Tampa's going to score, and I'm a big fan of New York. Matt McGloin, as you can see, I took him in the DraftKings League. I think Mikhail McKay is going to be able to make enough plays. I really like the guys that are going to step in at the receiver position have played really well throughout camp. For that, I think the upset of the weekend is New York going over Tampa.
Wow.
That's what I got. That's my upset of the weekend.
That's a big pick. So I have Tampa. I have Tampa covering 3.5. I have Tampa and New York going over 52.5. I like Tampa's offense. I think it's going to be too much for New York to handle. I think the mismatches outside of Jamar Summers are going to be too much for the defense to handle. I have Tampa winning.
I feel like I've already given away my picks by the time you got me, because I've been kind of talking about it all show, but people know my hot and cold relationship with both of these teams. It was New York, and now my new fling is Tampa Bay. So I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay in this one. If New York was at full strength with their wide receiver core, I may go in that direction, but I just feel like Tampa Bay is going to cause a lot of issues for the New York front seven. And I think if Aaron Murray can just manage the game and not cause a lot of turnovers from that secondary, because things can get out of hand if that secondary starts making plays. But if Aaron Murray can find Truth Daly, if he can utilize Quentin Flowers, if he can rely on the running game with Davion Smith and Jacques Fitzpatrick, I'm confident that Tampa Bay is going to come out with a win. So let's go ahead and go to the second game, Seattle versus Dallas. Guys, I think we're a little split here. Or St. Louis versus Dallas. Let's go ahead and get our picks for that one.
Yeah, line currently has Dallas -9, over/under is 52.5. I'm actually going to take I think it's going to be an extremely close game, right? With Philip Nelson at the helm for Dallas, I don't think the question marks on the offensive side of the ball for St. Louis is enough to make this a blowout, right? I think that line at -9 is crazy.
It's a rat line. It's a
right?
rat line.
Right? It's a rat line, right? So you got St. Louis at +9. I would take that St. Louis +9 because I think it's going to be really close. Over, under, I'd probably take the over in all these games, by the way. I wouldn't take the under. But I think for me, the difference is going to be the balance of the Dallas roster from top to bottom. On defense, I think they're extremely balanced. On offense, even though that they're going to be starting a second-string quarterback today, I think they have enough, especially at the running back position, especially at the receiver position. I really like their offensive line as well. I think they're the better team. So for that fact, I'm going to pick Dallas in this game.
Interesting. So I saw the line, and I thought, no way with Philip Nelson starting would I take Dallas -9. So from a betting perspective, I'm taking St. Louis +9.
Yep,
I'm taking the over 52.5. I think all these over-unders are low, so I'm going over on all of them. But this is my upset special because I'm taking the St. Louis money line too. It's the best money line payout, and I predict them to win today over Dallas in the upset.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Dallas. If this game was in St. Louis, then I might reconsider. But I worry about Te'amo going into that hostile environment with the lack of reps and experience that he has at the quarterback position. I think that Dallas defense is going to cause and create havoc for him all night.
Yep.
We talked about Duron Smith, probably the best safety in the league. He was the
Love
best
Duron
safety in
Smith.
the AAF when he played there last year. So I think Dallas is going to be all over Te'amu. They're going to have to really rely on Christine Michael, and if he has a big game, then they have a shot. But I think Dallas is in good shape here at Globe Life Park. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our final matchup because I can't even hear myself think, it's so damn loud in here. All right, so Seattle at DC.
The big one.
The big
Where
one.
we're here for.
We're here right now.
All right. It is so cool, by the way, that there was that group of Seattle fans that's here. That
pretty
shows
cool.
you that the XFL is,
That's right.
it's here, baby.
I mean, look at this stuff.
Have fans, will travel.
Yeah. All right, Gless, so what are you thinking?
Yeah, so this one's interesting. We got defenders at -9, over under 50.5. I'm gonna before I tell you what I would pick as far as betting lines would say, I think the biggest thing for me is going to be the defenders' offense versus Seattle defense. The biggest question mark I have about Seattle is on the defensive side of the ball. Really not a whole lot of big-name guys or really anybody that anybody would notice. Right, so I think that is going to be an interesting thing to watch. It's an interesting matchup. How dominant can the DC offense be? They have a lot of size at receiver. They have a lot of speed at receiver. They have a great running back tandem. They have Cardell Jones, who I think with the play action run game or with the play action game can really be effective today.
Yep.
For that reason, I think the defenders not only cover at -9, they win big today. Right, so I'm taking DC defenders, win big, first XFL game. You're going to see tons of offense from the defenders. They win big, they cover at -9.
The way Seattle stays in this game is if they control the clock with their running game. Brandon Silvers plays within himself, but the defense for DC is a little worrisome losing their defensive coordinator. But talent-wise, they're one of the best in the league. I mean, at every level of the defense.
Yes.
You look at Sam Montgomery on the line. I know Scooby Wright's not playing, but AJ Tarpley, Celestin. They've got some good linebackers, and then we know about their safeties. So I think the talent's going to overcome, and I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be the DC defenders. I hope that it's a close game since it's the first game of the season, but I'm going to stick with DC to open up the season with a home win. What is this question mark, Kenny? What is this bit that you're pulling right now? What are we doing, like a Lee Corso thing here? I don't even know what to expect.
I figured we
here.
got to have a live show. When we're going to have a live show, we got to have a live pick and a really cool thing to do.
I like it.
So everybody knows
how much you hate the DC defenders.
Not defenders, how much I don't like Cardell. I'm not a big fan. So I look at this matchup and I just don't know if Cardell can take DC to the promised land. But I also look at Seattle and I'm just not in love with that team. I mean, obviously we all had them ranked 8th in our week 1 power ranking, so I'm really caught between a rock and a hard place. So I kind of came up with some reasons why I should pick each team. For DC, I live here. This is my home. I cheer for the Nationals, the
Hometown
Capitals,
guy.
the Wizards.
You're a hometown guy.
I'm a hometown guy. They have one of the most passionate fan bases, as you can tell, as you've been able to witness yourself. And Audi Field is going to be rocking today.
It's gonna be unbelievable.
You know, I've got my DC Defenders shirt, but I just don't know if I can go with DC because I'm so against Cardell. And now I've got my Seattle shirt. And reasons I like Seattle.
He's really playing this out.
And the reasons I like Seattle, my favorite bands, Pearl Jam and Nirvana, are from there. Starbucks, Amazon, the P&W is beautiful. You know, how can you not love the Dragons' uniforms and colors? If they
Love their home unis, by the way. Home unis are
they
the
have
best
an awesome
in the league.
fan base. But just like with Nirvana's best record was Nevermind. So I know a lot of people probably think my hatred for Cardell that I'm going to pick the Dragons. You know what I say to that? Never mind. I'm picking the DC Defenders, baby. Let's go.
Yeah!
They're going to win.
Baby! How about them Defenders? God, that was such a long bit.
That was.
All right, well, there's our picks. Kenny has been converted. I'm not sure you're going to ever see Kenny in a DC Defender shirt again. So take your screenshots now so you can make him pay for it later. I love, though, by the comments, though, people were calling him Rob Lowe earlier.
Yeah.
XFL.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm getting a bunch here. Is Kenny doing the Lee Corso bit?
Yes.
Lee Corso?
I stole
Lee Corso?
You steal from greatness. Lee Corso's the GOAT.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
We got to pack up. We got to get to Audi Field by 2 o'clock.
Big thanks to Walter Sports Bar.
Huge
Thank you.
thank you to
It's
Walter.
awesome.
Get down here if you have an opportunity.
Incredible atmosphere, guys.
Yes.
Incredible atmosphere. This is awesome. We have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. We're going to try to do this again throughout the season. So stay tuned. Follow us at XFL Chalk Talk, XFLChalkTalk.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, obviously YouTube. You're watching it now.
Yep.
Make sure you click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get all of our latest videos and the Discord app. Bless, you put that in the comment section?
I did, yes, in the comment
so
section.
You can live chat with us during the show or during the first game. You can live chat with the show. So make sure you sign up on Discord. And guys,
We're here.
It's gonna be a fun weekend of football.
T-minus 90 minutes. Right? I mean, we're 90 minutes to kickoff.
I can't believe that we're finally here. So much has gone into this. You know, whether it's the coaches, the draft, the uniforms, the team names, the mini camps, the training camp. It's like there's always one step before you get to football.
Yeah.
And now it's like, whoa, we're at real football. Like this is happening in 90 minutes.
Kickoff 20.
So everybody,
kickoff
whether you're going to
2020.
be at a game or you're watching from TV at home on TV, enjoy the game. Enjoy it because it's really an historic weekend. You know, this is not going to come around often.
Soak it in. Soak it in.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. For Bless, Kenny, I'm Riley. Thank you for watching our pregame show here from Walter Sports Bar in Washington D.C. Enjoy the weekend. Have fun, everybody. XFL 2020 is right around the corner. Let's go.
Let's go.